Hey, this is Greg Davis with Azola Creative, and today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of website hosting. A lot of people get mixed up when it comes to website hosting, understanding what it is, what its purpose is, but even more than that, they don't understand why it's important for them to have higher levels of hosting for their websites. And so I'm going to flip over to a tutorial that will hopefully kind of illustrate for you the reason why you need to look at the level of website hosting you have, because that can make a big difference in the way your website performs as a sales engine. Okay, so we're going to walk through this at a very basic level. Now, there are some way more technical people than me that could explain this to a deeper level. And so if they're watching this ever, they're going to be like, what's this guy talking about? There's all these details behind the scenes, but we're not going to go into that. We're going to keep it on a high level and just make it a little bit more pragmatic for you to understand what it is I'm talking about. So hopefully this visual will do that for you. So let's just get down to the basics. What we have here is that you have your website and you have an end user, and you want to be able to get your website to that end user. That is the mission when it comes to your website. Nothing there as far as any kind of mystery. That's the point. But what happens a lot of times, especially with smaller businesses, startups that are not familiar with what they need from a technical standpoint, maybe they really don't understand the purpose of their website and what they're going to do with it. What tends to happen is that, like anybody, we kind of go for what's the best cost that we can find, the best lower expense that we might be able to find. So what ends up happening a lot of times is that people build a website on a shared hosting plan because that costs the least. And so these are called all kinds of different things. It might be called a starter plan or a baby plan or whatever. There's a lot of different names that hosting companies give them. It's all fine, it's legitimate, but it's just the fact that what that really means is that you're sharing your website server with a bunch of other websites. So you're not on a dedicated server, you're on a shared server. And that's why they call them shared plans or baby plans or whatever it is. So the idea here is that you are sharing your website on a server with a bunch of other servers. Now, there's not a security risk per se when it comes to that, as much as it's just a matter of this is why your hosting costs so little. You might be spending a couple dollars a month, maybe $10 a month, maybe $20 a month. Whatever that cost might be, they keep it really low cost because you're sharing the cost with other users. The challenge there is that as everyone is trying to get through that bandwidth of that server, it's creating a little bit of a logjam because you figure everybody's trying to get through and get to that end user wherever their end user might be. So that is where the big problem happens a lot of times when it comes to websites, is that you see them loading really slow. It can be very clunky. It hangs for a little bit. And sometimes we're talking about seconds or milliseconds, but in website terms, that's a lifetime, because we all know what happens if something's not loading. We just abandon it and get out. So for all of those milliseconds it's taking for your website to load, that's creating a potential loss in revenue for you. And so I'm not bashing shared plans. These make sense for a lot of people, especially if you have very low traffic and you just need some kind of representation. I get why people do it. I'm not agreeing with the fact that you don't need to focus on your website more, but I understand where people are at. And so by any means, there's nothing wrong with the fact that hosting companies offer these types of plans. But just know that, when you're using things like website builders, there's a lot of website builders out there, themes that you can buy that are like do-it-yourself themes or do-it-yourself website builders. Again, they're all very good quality, but what happens a lot of times is that they're borrowing pieces from each other. You think about plugins. I have a really good friend that is a phenomenal website programmer, custom programmer, and he hates plugins. And the reason why is because when you're using plugins, what happens is that those plugins have to communicate with one another in order for them to really do what they're supposed to do globally for the website. So it's a little bit of a puzzle putting them together behind the scenes. Now, again, this happens in milliseconds, but what happens sometimes when it comes to plugins is that they can interfere with one another. Add to it, you're on a shared server with a lot of other websites, and your website needs to load. It's loading at a slower speed, so some of those puzzle pieces and hiccups can take a little longer, which is why you might see some choppiness sometimes when your web page loads. again, this is why, if you're going to get more serious about the traffic that you want to generate, as well as maybe you're just dealing with some of these hangups, it comes down to looking into getting a dedicated hosting plan or cloud server. These are going to give you more of the experience of that, direct, faster traffic, lightning speed that gets the website to the end user. I've seen this with website builders where on a cheaper shared plan, the site was loading really slow. I mean, we're talking, a couple seconds or more, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, which is like, that's like death to a website basically. But I've seen it where load really slow like that and move the website over to a dedicated plan. And it was like that, just lightning fast. And so it eliminated a lot of those same issues. All those same things are happening behind the scenes, all the puzzle pieces and everything like that. But it just eliminated so much of that because of being on a dedicated server and not sharing it with all those other websites that are there. So when you're looking at your website, if you're having problems with it loading slow, depending on the code that, as far as how it's built, if it's built with a lot of website builders and plugins, and there could be some issues there that's causing that. If it's custom coded, which not a lot of websites are these days, but in the event that you do have that custom coded website, it could be, again, that you're just having some interference. That's, again, more technical than what I'll get into as far as what you would need to look at there. Ultimately, the biggest resolution that you can do, one of the easiest resolutions you can do, is look at your hosting plan and move it up. Now, again, this might cost you more money, and you might say, oh, I don't want to spend that kind of money on website hosting. But your website is a sales engine. It is going to be representing you. It should be driving leads or driving sales in one way, shape, or form. It's important to invest in making sure that that's loading faster for you and working for you better. If you're not going to take that serious, then why even do it? So my challenge to you is to look at, if you're having some of that choppiness on that slow loading time, look at your hosting plan and look at the idea of upgrading it. A lot of plans that have these little baby accounts, they have they have dedicated hosting or cloud hosting. So it's not like you have to move to an entire different hosting company. You just might need to move up in what they offer. So take a look at that. And like I said, a lot of times when I see those issues, it really points to the hosting that they're doing, especially in the modern era where it's a lot of plugin building and builder building, theme building, that kind of thing. That's causing a lot more of these issues to happen than it used to years ago. So I hope you find this helpful. And, if you have questions about this, leave a message in the comments and I'll be happy to answer something for you or direct you to someone that might be a better resource. Hey everyone, thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it with your friends and colleagues. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to leave a comment.